California Governor Gavin Newsom is now calling his city's homeless encampments unacceptable, which is odd since he's the guy who, made them acceptable, turning sidewalks into red carpet events for drug addicts, thieves, and unemployed CNN anchors. On Monday, he urged cities to ban the camps from sidewalks, parks, and other public areas. So after years of denying the problem, he's now pretending to fix it, which is like putting on a condom as you're leaving a whorehouse.
Greg Gutfeld went after Gavin Newsom in a way that left nothing behind but his slicked back hair and a pile of burned out talking points. This wasn't just a joke or a roast, it was a full-on takedown that had people talking across the country. Gutfeld exposed Newsom's flaws, mocked his record, and made the California governor look completely unprepared. It started like any regular night on Gutfeld's show. He came out with his usual smirk, holding his coffee mug, but this
first,
time,
I just want to go on the record to let everyone know that
often
I am
seen as the
very
golden
much
boy of
against
liberal
slavery.
politics, was his target. Gutfeld called out Newsom for being more.
So Newsom is fed up with tent cities, the crime, the urban decay? No, he's not mad about that stuff. He's mad you noticed. It's like a criminal telling a jury he's sorry he robbed 25 banks when he's just sorry he got caught on the 26th. Because this isn't some spontaneous crisis. It's a man-made disaster like Chernobyl or Fox and Friends. And
worried that people noticed California's problems than actually fixing them. He said California's issues homeless camps. Crime, high taxes weren't surprises. They were created by bad leadership, and Newsom had been at the center of it.
For more, we go to our chief Sunny
Newsom
Hostin
smiles like a
correspondent for a
toothpaste commercial
reaction.
and speaks like he's giving a TED Talk, all while his state is falling apart. Gutfeld pointed out how Newsom's promises never match his actions. He talked about how Newsom once said California would welcome anyone, but when people actually came, things got worse. The streets filled up with
took common sense as his high ground.
Right.
There's no place outside of it.
That's right.
And so they're stuck in this horrible, horrible place, much like you, Jamie, and your life. As California falls apart, it must remind you somewhat of your own personal life.
Yeah. Sometimes I look at footage of California and I go, oh, look how much better it is than my life.
Not just the
crime
incompetence,
increased, and
but
businesses
the audacity
started
to
closing
export
or
it to
leaving
the rest of
state.
America.
Even though
the
Newsom
thought
tried to
alone
blame
sent
mayors
chills.
and others.
Because if
Gutfeld
California
reminded
is
viewers
the
that
test
Newsom
lab,
had already spent
Newsom
billions
is
on
the
the
lab
homeless
coat
crisis.
wearing
With
mad
no real
scientist.
progress, he
And the
mocked the way
country
Newsom
spewing
appears at press
nonsense
events
about
as
white
if he's
privilege
starring in a
and
fashion
racial
shoot,
justice.
ignoring the actual
Well, turns
pain and
out
struggles
she's
happening
not as
around him.
oppressed
Gutfeld
as she
said
claims she
Newsom
is.
often lectures
She's
other
actually
states
the
like
descendant
Florida
of slave
and Texas.
owners
While
from
California
Europe. Here's how
struggles
she
with
took the
basic
news.
things like
Roll it.
safety and education, he described it as a fake show lots of big words, polished
I'm
looks,
a little
and
bit in
empty
shock.
results.
I just
Then
always thought of
Gutfeld got
myself
more
as Puerto
serious.
Rican.
He warned
half
that Newsom's
Puerto Rican.
kind of politics.
Why do I keep bringing up Gavin? Well, other than my respect for his work in American Psycho, he's starting to distance himself from his party's worst ideas. Newsom, a guy who hates fossil fuels but could still bring down the price of gas by wringing out his hair, once proclaimed that his state would be a sanctuary to all who seek it. Then people actually came.
Spread to the rest of the
never
country.
missing a beat,
He compared
pointed
California
squarely
to a
at the man
fancy
in
house
charge.
that looks nice on
It
the
was
outside,
like watching
but
a
is falling
political
apart
magic
inside.
trick in
And when
reverse.
Newsom talks about running for
Gutfeld
president,
peeled away
Gutfeld
every
said that
illusion
should
Newsom
scare
had
everyone
constructed
because
over
if
the
California
years.
is
The
model,
economic
the
growth,
rest of America
smoke and
could be in
mirrors.
trouble.
The climate
He also
leadership,
mentioned how
empty
Newsom handled
gestures
COVID,
wrapped in solar
shutting down
panels and
schools,
press releases.
churches,
The
and businesses
compassion
while secretly
only
dining
extended
at
as
expensive
far as the
restaurants
cameras
without a
reached.
mask.
And just when you
It
thought
wasn't just
Gutfeld
unfair,
had
it was
exhausted his
hypocritical.
ammo, he
Gutfeld's
delivered the
point was
final
simple.
blow.
Newsom
Not with
isn't a
anger,
leader, he's a
but
brand,
with clarity.
a carefully made
He
image
compared
with no real
Newsom's
solutions.
California
And now,
to a
that
stunning
image is
man.
To conflate order with authoritarianism, you get chaos and destruction. So if restoring order is evil, then the Dems are now the party of disorder. Turns out the only system they had was wokeism, and it rotted any basic principles the party had to begin with. Which is why, like Gavin himself, they're left looking at 2028's hopes going up in flames. And this time, no one is going to help them put it out.
Spare.
Gutfeld
It's all
didn't scream
illusion.
or rage.
A
He just
glossy
laid out the
shell
facts,
concealing the
added a
decay
bit of
beneath.
sarcasm, and let the
Gutfeld
truth
painted
do the
it
work.
as a house of
It hit
slogans,
hard because it
catchy
felt
phrases holding
He
up
showed that
collapsing
behind
beams
all
of
the
policy
shiny
failure,
speeches and good
aesthetics
looks,
over
Newsom
action,
had left his state
flash
in
over
chaos.
function.
That's not something
That,
you can
he
hide
said,
behind.
is
Hair
Newsom's
gelled out by the
California.
time Gutfeld was
A
done.
glittering
There was no
catastrophe
doubt
wrapped
left.
in
He didn't
progressive
just
wrapping
take a shot
paper.
at
The
Newsom.
audience
He took
lit
him
up
down,
like
and
fireworks.
Newsom may still be trying to
Gasps
figure
turned
out
to
how it all
laughter.
happened.
Not because
Greg
Gutfeld was
Gutfeld
being
went after Gavin
theatrical,
Newsom
but
in a
because
way
he had
that left
just said
nothing
what
behind
everyone
but his
knew
slicked back
and no
hair
one
and a
dared to
pile of
admit.
burned
The
out
truth hit
talking
like a
points.
lightning bolt.
This wasn't just a joke
California
or a
wasn't a
roast, it was a
beacon.
full-on takedown.
Problem is his track record, his performance as mayor,
as lieutenant governor and governor. And your analogies are great. I think mine are better. And just hold on. And here's why. He shows up at the fires and says, who the hell caused this? I'm going to crack down on the people responsible. He sees the homeless encampments blocking the sidewalks and said, you guys clean that up. He started it. He spent $3 billion to fix it. And his opening words in 2020 when he got the job is a disgrace. The richest state in the country and the richest nation of the world has a homeless problem. I will fix it. He spends $1 billion when it's not fixed. He blames the mayors, and he also forced the movie industry and Silicon Valley out of the best state in the country by high taxes. I've never seen someone such a bad performance, but yet I think he's the front runner to get the nomination for the Democratic Party.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. They got nobody else. Sherrod, welcome back.
Greg Gutfeld went after Gavin Newsom in a way that
like
left
any other
nothing
night on
behind
Gutfeld's
but his
stage.
slick back
Lights
hair
blazing,
and a pile
coffee
of
mug
burned
in
out
hand,
talking
and that
points.
signature
This wasn't
smirk
just a
curled on his
joke or a
face like a
roast,
loaded
it was a
gun
full-on
ready to fire.
takedown that had
But
people
this wasn't just
talking
another
across the
segment
country.
of sarcastic
Gutfeld
banter
exposed
or
Newsom's
comedic
flaws,
jabs.
mocked his record,
Tonight,
and made
Greg
the California
Gutfeld came
governor
armed
look
for
completely
war.
unprepared.
And the unlucky
It started like
recipient
any
of his
regular
verbal
night on
napalm,
Gutfeld's
California's
show. He
crown
came out with
prince
his
of
usual
quaff
smirk,
politics,
holding his coffee
Gavin
mug.
Newsom.
But this time, he didn't
Oh yes,
hold back.
the man with prints
Gavin
like it's
Newsom,
a Vogue
often
cover
seen
shoot.
as the golden boy of
He's not
liberal
having
politics,
it. He ended
was
with
his
the kind of
target.
deadpan
Gutfeld
mic
called
drop
out
only
Newsom
he
for
could
being
deliver.
more worried
A
that
half
people
smile,
noticed
a sip from
California's
his mug,
problems
and a
than
glance at
actually
the
fixing
camera
them.
that said,
He said
"We see you,
California's
Gavin,"
issues homeless
and no
camps.
amount of hair gel
Crime,
can smooth
high
this
taxes
over.
weren't surprises.
What made the whole
They were
thing
created by
unforgettable
bad leadership.
wasn't just the
And
jokes,
Newsom
the
had been at the
jabs,
center
or
of
the
it.
laughs.
Gutfeld
It
joked
was the
that Newsom
precision,
smiles like a
the
toothpaste
truth,
commercial and
the
speaks
surgical
like he's
way
giving a
Gutfeld
TED Talk.
dismantled the
All
gleaming.
So last week, Newsom said he hopes the conservative Supreme Court will overturn the current law that bans his state from removing out-of-control homeless encampments. Imagine that. Well, what did you expect, Gavin? That the sanctuary seekers were going to show up in Winnebagos? Once again, another example of a high-profile lib using his big mouth to write a check his ass can't cash. Last year, after the Texas Governor Abbott ordered that parents of transitioning children should face criminal investigation, Newsom then tweeted this: "Trans kids and their families should be celebrated, not targeted by the state. They are heroes." And so to fearful families in Texas right now, California's door is always open to you.
While his state is falling apart, Gutfeld pointed out how Newsom's promises never match his actions. He talked about how Newsom once said California would welcome anyone, but when people actually came, things got worse. The streets filled up with tents.
I don't know.
Crime
That's
increased,
not true.
and businesses started closing or leaving the state.
You think about
Even
things
though
that
Newsom
she
tried
said
to
and
blame
how
mayors and
expensive
others,
they are.
Yeah.
Gutfeld reminded viewers
karma.
that Newsom
Yeah,
had
it is
already spent
karma.
billions on the homeless
And that's coming
crisis.
from someone who's
With no
descended
real
from the
progress,
class was
he mocked the way Newsom
evaporating
appears
faster
at
than
press
hand
events as if he's
sanitizer in a
starring
heat
in a
wave.
fashion shoot.
Small businesses
Ignoring the
were
actual
closing their
pain and
doors
struggles
forever,
happening
while
around him.
Hollywood and
Gutfeld
Silicon
said
Valley
Newsom
elites
often lectures
popped
other states
champagne
like
in
Florida
gated
and
communities.
Texas, while California
And there was
struggles
Gavin,
with basic
smiling
things
through
like
it all,
safety
hair
and
perfectly in
education.
place,
He
as if the
described it as
suffering
a
around
fake
him was
show,
just
lots of big
background
words,
noise for his
polished
next
looks,
campaign
and
ad.
empty
But
results.
Gutfeld wasn't
Then
just there to
Gutfeld
mock.
got more serious.
Oh no.
He warned
had
that
a point
Newsom's
to
kind
make,
of
a brutal
politics
one.
could spread to the
What do you think about Gavin Newsom? What's going on there?
I don't know. I don't know how they bump out Kamala out of put a white male in there and take her out. She's got too much of an ego to just step aside. She's going to go crazy if they try to do that.
Plus, she had a strong 2% support, so don't forget that.
Yeah, but she's waiting for that spot to just open for her, and then you put a white male in there.
Yeah.
I don't know how they're going to put. I mean, they did it to Bernie. They threw him under the bus two presidential ones in a row. They just gave him a couple extra houses in Vermont. Go, yeah, you got some extra money. But I don't know how they could do it with her.
It'd be great if they threw her under the bus because she really likes buses. Remember? To be
Fighting over
country.
streets filled
He
with
compared
fentanyl,
California
filth,
to a fancy
and forgotten
house that looks
citizens.
nice on the
You
outside,
could almost
but is
hear
falling
the
apart
laughter
inside.
bubbling as
And when
Gutfeld
Newsom
drove
talks
it
about
home,
running for
not with
president,
anger,
Gutfeld
but
said
with that
that should
surgical
scare everyone
sarcasm
because if
that
California
slices
is the
deeper
model,
than rage
the rest
ever
of
could.
America could be in trouble.
Then came the
He
COVID
also
era.
mentioned how Newsom handled
Newsom's
COVID,
stage,
shutting
his
down
spotlight,
schools, churches,
his moment
and
to
businesses
shine.
while
He
secretly
aimed the
dining at
hypocrisy
expensive
with
restaurants
pinpoint
without a mask.
accuracy.
It
There was
wasn't just
Gavin
unfair,
demanding
it was
masks and
hypocritical.
lockdowns,
Gutfeld's
shuttering
final
churches,
point was
schools, and
simple.
small
Newsom
businesses,
isn't a leader.
while he
He's a
dined
brand,
maskless
a
because
carefully
Newsom,
made
for all
image
his
with
photo
no
ops
real
and talking
solutions.
points,
And now
isn't just
that
a
image is
flawed
cracking.
politician.
Gutfeld
Families
didn't
are
scream
fleeing
or
the
rage.
state or
He
not
just
out of
laid out the
preference,
facts,
but for
added a
survival.
bit of sarcasm, and let the
Businesses,
truth do the
once
work.
proud to call
It
the
hit
Golden
hard
State
because it
home,
felt
are now
honest.
bolting
He
for
showed that
anywhere that
behind all
doesn't
the
charge
shiny
them a
speeches and
tax
good
just to
looks,
breathe.
Newsom had left
Even
his state
longtime
in
residents
chaos.
began to
That's
ask,
not something you can
how
hide
did we
behind.
get here?
Hair gelled out by the time
Newsom still
Gutfeld
found
was
time
done.
to lecture
There was
other
no
states.
doubt left.
Yes,
he didn't just take a
other
shot at
states.
Newsom. He took
On morality.
and down in Newsom
I'm
may
more
still be
worried
trying
for
to
Sonny
figure out
Hostin's
how it all
progeny
happened.
in the
Could
future
spread to the
that
rest of the the
a
country.
DNA
He
test
compared California
and
to
find
a
out that
fancy
they were
house that
related
looks
to a
nice on
cast
the outside
member
but is falling
of The
apart
View.
inside. And when Newsom talks about running for president,
And they're
Gutfeld
like,
said that should scare
"Oh,
everyone
it all
because if
makes so
California
much
is the
sense
model,
now.
the rest of America could
Why
be in
I'm
trouble."
so stupid
He also
and
mentioned
fat.
how Newsom handled COVID, shutting down schools, churches, and businesses while secretly dining at expensive restaurants without.
Californians used to sell maps of celebrity homes, not landmines. Now, instead of sightseeing, tourists play hopscotch so their shoes don't get hepatitis. And when residents complain, they're called cruel. And now we're supposed to believe Gavin? Hell no. All the problems of the last decade were based on his and his party's lies.
I didn't think
it
I
wasn't
was
just unfair, it was hypocritical.
my family was
Gutfeld's
originally
final
from
point
Spain
was
and
simple.
slaveholders.
Newsom isn't a leader, he's a brand, a carefully made
So
image
how are you
with no
feeling,
real
my
solutions.
friend?
And now
I just-
that image is
You conflate
I
order
think
with
it's actually
authoritarianism, you get
pretty
chaos and
interesting
destruction.
that
So if restoring
my husband
order
and
is
I have
evil,
shared roots.
then the Dems are now the
so
party
I,
of
I
disorder.
do appreciate that.
Turns out the only
and I think
system
it's
they
great for our
had
children
was wokeism.
to know this
and
information.
it rotted any basic principles the party had
I guess
to
it's a
begin
fact
with.
of life.
Which is why,
that,
like Gavin himself, they're left looking at 2028's hopes going up in flames.
The crowd didn't
And
laugh
this time,
at the joke.
no
They
one is going to
laughed
help
with
them
recognition.
put it out.
It was the kind of truth
Gutfeld
that didn't need
scream or
embellishment,
rage. He just laid out the
delivery.
facts,
And Gutfeld
added a bit
delivered
of
it
sarcasm,
flawlessly.
and let the truth
Gavin,
do the work.
somewhere,
It hit hard
maybe in a
because it
posh
felt
hotel
honest.
suite or
He
behind a
showed
velvet
that
curtain
behind all
podium,
the shiny
he was
speeches
probably
and good
smiling,
looks,
confident
Newsom had
that no
left his
TV
state in
host could
chaos
touch him.
Then came the national polling by overwhelming majorities. It turns out Americans don't favor minors transitioning. So last week, when a California law was proposed that judges in custody cases favor the parent who supports transitioning a child's new gender, Newsom killed that law quicker than a late-term abortion. Yeah, I know, huh? Now the left, being the left, was outraged, but they missed something because now Newsom says he only vetoed it since it's already the law.
That's not something you can hide behind. Hair gelled up by the time Gutfeld was
karma
done.
definitely.
There was no
it's,
doubt
it's
left.
one thing.
He
It's going
didn't
to be
just
so
take a shot
awkward
at Newsom. He took
on
him down,
new
and
episodes
Newsom
of The
may
View
still
when
be
she
trying to
tries to
figure
pull
out
the
how
race
it all
card.
happened.
Yes.
And then she's like, America is racist. And then they're like, yeah, they might be racist, but they're not like slave owner racist. like somebody that we.
The problem is his track record, his performance
I'm
as
gonna milk
mayor,
this till
as
the end
lieutenant
of time.
governor, and governor.
You're
and
right.
Your
Anytime she says
analogies are great. I
something
think mine
stupid,
are
I'm gonna
better.
say-
And just hold on.
Where
And
tech
here's why.
billionaires step over human waste to get to dinner
He
reservations.
shows up at
where
the fires
businesses
and
shudder,
says, "Who the
not
hell
because
caused
of
this? I'm
market
going to
forces,
crack
but
down on
because
the people
law and order have been
responsible."
replaced
He sees
with
the homeless
chaos
encampments blocking
and
the
indifferent.
sidewalks.
As he
and
laid
said,
it all
"You guys
out
clean
with a
that up."
smile,
He started
the picture
it. He
became
spent $3
painfully
billion
clear.
to fix it. And his
Newsom's
opening words in
California
2020 when I
isn't
got
a
the
model.
job is
It's a
a
warning
disgrace.
label.
The
Greg
richest
Gutfeld
state in
just
the
took a
country
flamethrower
and the
to
richest
Gavin
nation in the
Newsom's
world
political
has a
facade.
homeless problem.
And what's
I will
left
fix
is
it. He
nothing but
spends $1 billion
smoldering
when it's
ashes
not
and
fixed.
slicked
He
back
blames
hair.
the mayors.
In a
and he
takedown
also
so
forced the movie
ruthless it
industry.
echoed through.
Gavin ponders why Dems lost.
We lost. We lost the popular vote, and we lost the electoral vote. We got crushed. And we need to be humble about that, and we need to have some grace, and we need to understand why. Was it because of the incumbency penalty? Was it because of inflation? Was it because of interest rates? Was it because of immigration? Was it because we were too, quote unquote, woke? Was it because of issues with Israel? Was it all of the above? I think we are going through that forensic. We need to understand it. At the same time, we also have to push back against the whitewaters and headwinds of the Trump administration.
And Silicon Valley, out of the best state in the country by high taxes.
I've
I've never
watched that.
seen
That's the
someone
second time
such
I've
a
watched
bad
that.
performance.
She was
but yet I
tipped
think
off
he's the front runner
beforehand,
to get
right?
the
'Cause
nomination for the
they
Democratic
had to tell her
Party.
before.
Yeah, it's true.
So she had
It's
time
true.
to regroup.
They got nobody else
They wouldn't
to
just
rod.
welcome back.
Greg
You
Gutfeld
think?
went
No,
after
I don't
Gavin
know. I
Newsom
feel like
in a way that left nothing
she
behind
could've
but
maybe
his
done
slick
better.
back
Okay,
hair and
here's
a
the thing.
pile of burned out talking points. This
One
wasn't
thing,
just a
and I
joke
wouldn't
or a
even
roast.
actually
It
not
was a
give her
full-on takedown that
Because
had
when you're
people
presented
talking
with
across the
information,
country.
it's okay to change your
Gutfeld
mind. It's good to
exposed
change your
Newsom's
mind.
flaws,
But you should
mocked his
acknowledge
record,
that
and made the California
exactly,
governor look
because
completely
if she
unprepared.
is
It
shaming
started like any regular night on
descendants
Gutfeld's
of
show.
this,
He
will
came
she
out with his
continue to
usual
do that
smirk,
when she is
holding
now
his
one
coffee
of
mug,
them,
but this time,
Dana?
he didn't
And
hold
it is
back.
funny. She
Gavin
is so
Newsom,
wrapped up in
often seen as the
identity, and
golden
she had
boy
no
of liberal
idea who
politics,
she was.
his target. Gutfeld
Well,
called out Newsom
now
for
we
being more
understand
worried
why
that
she
people
always
noticed
makes Whoopi get the
California's
coffee.
problems than actually fixing
Every
them.
liberal
He said
echo
California's
chamber,
issues homeless
Gutfeld
camps.
shredded Newsom's
Crime,
hypocrisy,
high taxes weren't
mocked
surprises.
his policies,
They were
and left the
created by bad
California
leadership,
governor
and
looking
Newsom
like a
had been at the
deer
center of
in
it.
the headlights
Gutfeld
of a
joked that Newsom
primetime
smiles
monologue.
like a toothpaste
This
commercial
wasn't just a
and speaks
roast,
like he's
it
giving
was a
a TED
full-blown
talk.
political
All while
demolition. election.
So last
and
week,
Newsom
said
didn't
he
even
hopes
see
the
it coming.
conservative
Buckle up.
Supreme Court
This
will
is
overturn
Gutfeld
the current law
unleashed.
that bans his
With a
state
grin,
from removing
Gutfeld
out-of-control
painted the
homeless
picture.
encampments. Imagine
California's
that.
middle
What did you expect, Gavin? That the sanctuary seekers were going to show You up make in a mean Winnebagos?
cookie, and now we know
Once
why.
again,
Me
another
was so
example of a
confused.
high-profile lib using his big
You
mouth
and your
to
family
write a
lived in a
check
tree
his
trunk.
ass can't cash. Last year, after
Joe,
the
your
Texas
great-grandfather
Governor
was
Abbott
actually
ordered that
Pinocchio.
parents of transitioning children should face criminal investigation, Newsom then tweeted this: "Trans kids and their families should be
Why does
celebrated.
it- when you
not
get
targeted
insulted,
by the
people feel
state.
bad.
They are heroes."
Because
And
they
so
love
to
me,
fearful
Greg.
families in Texas right now, California's door is always open to you.
While his state is falling apart, Gutfeld
Great
pointed out
job.
how Newsom's promises never match his.
Greg,
Actions, he
you
talked
know,
about how Newsom once
in
said
her defense,
California would welcome anyone, but when
everyone
people
has
actually came,
ancestors
things got worse.
that did
The streets filled
unspeakably
up with
horrible
tents,
things.
crime
It's just that
increased, and
not
businesses
everyone's
started
ancestors
closing or
have
leaving the
records
state.
tied to their
Even though
their
Newsom
DNA
tried to blame
about it.
mayors and
Freedom
others,
and governance.
Gutfeld
That's when
reminded viewers
Gutfeld
that
turned up
Newsom
the
had
heat.
already spent
It
billions
wasn't just
on the homeless
hypocrisy,
crisis.
it was
With no
performance
real
art,
progress,
and Newsom
he
was
mocked
the
the way Newsom
overpaid
appears at
actor
press
fumbling
events
his
as if he's
lines.
starring in a fashion
Gutfeld
shoot,
painted the perfect
ignoring the
scene.
actual pain
A
and
governor
struggles
standing
happening around
behind
him.
a podium,
Gutfeld said
condemning
Newsom
Florida
often
for book
lectures
bans
other
while
states like
ignoring
Florida
the fact that
and Texas.
students in his
While
state can
California
barely read
struggles
above
with
grade
basic
level, he's
things like
wagging
safety and
fingers at
education,
Texas
he
for its
described
abortion
it as a
laws,
fake
while
show-offs of big words, polished looks, and empty results. Then Gutfeld got more serious. He warned that Newsom's kind of politics could spread to the...
What do you think about Gavin Newsom? What's going on there?
I don't know how they bump out.
Hey, Sean
Kamala
Hannity here.
to be
Hey,
a,
click
you know,
here to
put a white male
subscribe
in
to
there and
Fox
take her
News
out. She's
YouTube
got too much of
page
an ego
and
to
catch
just
our
step
hottest
aside.
interviews and most
She's gonna
compelling
go crazy
analysis.
if they try to
You
do
will
that.
not
Plus,
get
they had a
it
strong
anywhere
2%
else.
support, so don't forget that.
Yeah, but she's waiting for that spot to just open for her, and then you put a white male in there.
Yeah.
I don't know how they're going to put. I mean, they did it.